Welcome back to your favorite comedy finance channel. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We have a part 2 from our last interview. There's so much to talk about with ArcBlock. We just had to keep it going. So here's our part 2. We have Robert Mao. Let's continue on some of the questions that we have. So welcome back.
Yes, glad to be back. And happy, to continue the conversations.
Yeah, let's go. So I have another question. So I saw that you have your wallet, you have the digital identity, and I've also noticed, like with Accenture, IBM, they have what they call a health pass, where they'll be able to identify individuals and be able to use their medical records and all that stuff. I wanted to ask you, do you have any part in that, or is there, because I know there's a use case with ArcBlock on digital identity, but do you see a synergy happening between like IBM Health Pass and all the other stuff that's out there for the medical industry?
Yeah, all of those actually coming from the decentralized identity part. Because ArcBlock is one of the very early members and the contributors to the Decentralized Identity Working Group. That is the W3C community working group for the decentralized identity. So we started to get involved since year 2018, and on year 2019, we introduced a DID wallet, DID wallet. At that time, we called that ABT wallet. We rebrand ABT wallet into the DID wallet. So that is actually one of the first of its kind digital wallet that combined the decentralized identity together with the crypto technology, right? So right now, if you look at the wallet market in the market, so there are actually two kind of different type of wallet. One type of wallet is called identity wallet. If you're talking about this kind of IBM's pass, all of this kind of a certificate, most of those products called identity wallet. It does not handle anything with a blockchain or crypto, but instead it's stored your identity, your certificates, official name called verifiable credentials. Mm-hmm. But ArcBlock and the other part of the world, their crypto wallet, like Coinbase wallet, all of those their only value is basically let you to manage your private key on different blockchains, manage your digital asset, right? So DID wallet, ArcBlock's DID wallet is one of its kind that we combine the decentralized identity together with the cryptos. We think these two worlds need to be meet with each other. So yeah, so that's actually one of our unique position there.
Yeah, I've been noticing that your company pops up around a lot of those guys a lot of times. So I thought I'd bring it up. Now,
yeah, that's a benefit of early movers because we are early in this space. So it's a kind of a lucky that people pick it up and think, okay, this is a promising future, and we are one of the early companies that did quite a few things there.
So I have another question. So we have one where it says you're kind of direct competitors, or you're similar to Polkadot and Atom. So I saw a particular interview a while back where you were thinking that in the end, your technology is probably going to be the one that wins. So I've seen a ton of things when it comes to the stats of the blockchain and why it's better, but I always wanted to hear your take on it, because I have my opinions as to why ArcBlock has a superior technology, but I'd love to hear your take on it now that we're in 2022, because that interview was a little bit older. So what do you feel now, and where do you think you're gonna go with this tech, and now that people are finally seeing you guys, because you were under the radar, and I think if people knew about it, I think that it would be a little bit different now, so now that you're coming out of the woodworks, now I'm like, what's going on that now Robert Mao is just coming out,
Yeah, so that's a couple of years ago. You see those kind of compare diagrams. That's a couple of years ago. But today, if you look at what ArcBlock and the Polkadot and the Cosmos ecosystem again, you can see we are actually not that kind of a similar anymore, because everybody is kind of developed, right? At some certain stage. At that stage, we have the blockchain framework, which is basically at the time, Polkadot have a substrate, and the Cosmos has their framework. So each of those frameworks looks very similar because that framework is basically the component for the users quickly to create a new blockchain or a new part of blockchain. But apparently everybody is going beyond that, right? For example, our blog, as I mentioned, our vision is building a platform for the DApps, right? So blockchain, storage, decentralized identity, and the computing, all of this is just one of the pillar of that, right? So for Cosmos, if you look at Cosmos, I think I still really respect Cosmos and like them. Because Cosmos, the idea of the Cosmos, the core part is they call IBC, which is inter-blockchain communications. So their idea is just to try to solve, say, if we create a lot of different blockchains, and how do we have a trustless way to let those blockchains be able to communicate with each other? This is a very, very hard problem to solve. I don't think right now everybody has the perfect answer yet, but I really respect that their community go this far. And now apparently they have a lot of ecosystem. But if you look at Polkadot's, honestly, I don't quite understand of the Polkadot's vision, because apparently it was a fairly promising framework to create blockchains. But apparently, if I look at all those news, or all the news is about a kind of they call it slots, right? So there's a bidding on the slots. I don't understand because if you are building infrastructure, why do you need the people competing for paying for this kind of a cross-chain slots, right? I didn't take too much
like a
look at them.
standardization type of thing, right? Gotcha.
Yeah, it's more kind of like a business. It's more kind of fall into the like a business rather than building, new technology, right? If you look at our blog and looking at the Cosmos, we are all building technical stacks. So those stacks could be have the value to for the business value, but it's more essentially is a technology, just code, right?
Yeah.
So anybody is trustless, and anybody can decide to use this or use that. But instead, if you look at the Polkadot's ecosystem, is more like a business model. Everything is very, very tightly bound with these business models.
Gotcha. So let's go on to the next questions that I have here. Everything is about kind of becoming a DAO and getting more developers to come to ArcBlock to build. What products are live right now that, if we have some developers, and I know there's some that I even talked to you about that are pretty interested, because they share the same vision and more ways than one, I think. But what products right now are available for developers to try ArcBlock, or what would you recommend starting out with experimenting wise?
Yeah, sure. Right now, actually, there is a lot of things that is actually live and be able to use, especially from a developer's point of view, because some of them, they're still kind of not really that friendly for the consumer users.
Yeah.
So the most consumer-friendly application to get started is our data wallet, because that data wallet is designed for the consumers, right? Because data wallet is basically a foundation of everything. If you need to use a lot of other DApps, you need a data wallet to manage your identity, manage your assets, right? So the other part can very quickly get started is we call it Blocklet Store. On the Blocklet Store, you can already experiment a few things and be able to kind of directly start and run an application from there. So the concept of the Blocklet Store is eventually we're going to list every applications that be able to run on our ArcBlock ecosystem. And anybody, and actually what is interesting is, so the Blocklet Store is also decentralized, which basically means anybody can run your own Blocklet Store. So if you look at the Blocklet Store, there are already, I think, more than 30 of the different applications. Some of them are just very simple examples. Some of them are more complicated. And so that is a place that people can get started.
Now, I do hear a lot, and I'm not, I don't consider myself expert level when it comes to development and all that stuff, and I know you're trying to make it easy where anyone just off the street could even learn it, and that's how you want to make it more simple. but I was wondering about the Cash App for ArcBlock. How hard is that going to be to do the Cash App idea that you were talking about?
Yeah, so we actually have one of the campaign we call the I Did It campaign in the past. I believe you're mentioning one of the example that we put up there. So we actually going to we're going to kind of like make up that sorry, how to use the words. So my English, you see my English kicking.
No, that's okay. So you can virtually the idea or the concept is to make your own decentralized Cash App. So that way you don't have to use that program.
Yeah, exactly. So for that Cash App example is basically a showcase one of the powerful value of using a blockchain or a decentralized a distributed ledger technology, right? Gotcha. So imagine in the past, right? So the Cash App is very simple. And it's very user friendly. But imagine for a company, for a startup, right? If you want to build this kind of Cash App, it's very, very hard and very, very scary. And people were not going to trust you. Yeah. Basically because that's kind of involved into the money. How do I trust, right? Mm-hmm. So use a blockchain technology. Basically, your client, your customer will not just they will not depend on the trust on you. They can shift their trust on a distributed ledger technology, right? So that is basically in the I Did It campaign, we try to showcase with our blocks, building blocks, how easy an enterprise, a company or a startup can build this kind of similar Cash App to do all of those kind of management, right? So this is not necessary to be the real cash. It could be like a loyalty points. It could be a points across different business.
Or different
like
currencies.
Imagine
right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Now one thing I didn't know, now that we're talking about payments, I had no idea that you were hooked up with Stripe. I had no idea. So that makes it easier to get ABT, I'm assuming.
So right now, what we hook up with Stripe is basically we provided the traditional fiat options for users to use our platform, right? So I want to kind of again here to explain what ABT is, right? So ABT is designed as a medium of exchange for cloud computing resources. The whole ArcBlock platform is basically a computing platform. So there are many different type of resources. You need computing, you need network bandwidth, you need storage, and also you need to pay for different applications, right? So there are many different type of cloud applications, and also because we are trying to building an open ecosystem that a lot of partners want to contribute and build different components, and some of the components they might created by multiple different parties, right? To be able to facilitate those kind of cloud resources, we need a medium of exchange, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the whole purpose of creating the ArcBlock token. Yeah.
I always tell our people the same thing. They always ask me silly things about price, and I'm like, guys, this is a medium of exchange for the products and services that are on ArcBlock. And you even have a set reserve for developers to work on top of this. So I think there's a lot of incentive for developers to try ArcBlock out and experiment with it and to create things. So I've really liked that about this project, because what brings true utility is using a currency as a medium of exchange for those products and services, because that pretty much eliminates the fact that it's not a Ponzi or something like that. This is something that's going to be usable. It's an exchange for products and services that you could utilize on this platform, and then you could utilize the currency itself to be paid even for, let's say if you have a program or app on that platform. Now you could use that currency to also, issue that product and service aside from what ArcBlock services are. So I think it opens a lot of options for developers.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, I really wanted in the future to create a full kind of a podcast to explain how we design this system, how the ecosystem works. And I think this is really exciting. So yeah.
Well, you were telling
probably
me.
if I'm talking about this, I'm probably going to kind of fulfill everything for this podcast.
Well, you were telling me that you were learning a little bit from me. Well, I'm learning a ton of stuff from you. And if you ever need anything, I'm always here to tell you what I know about podcasting. It's been fun for me. I've been doing it for almost 3 years now. And, I've met so many amazing people just like you and a lot of different developers within the community. So it's always awesome to just connect the dots, because at the end of the day, what's going to push the innovation forward is not only one community, but multiple communities working together for that main cause of adoption, and to show people how to utilize this, not only within their business models, but for their own personal development for their apps. And I think that's going to be really the bigger dream for everybody.
Exactly. I think so. What you just said is actually reflect one of the value why we want to create our blog as an ecosystem, right? So for the blockchain technology, right now, a very important builder is the developers. For example, me and my teams and a lot of other partners who can create the software, right? But just the developers, just the engineers, will not be able to make a real success, right? You need a lot of other parties. You need people who can help to promote the ideas to talk to the audience, talk to the potential customers, right? You need people who are good at selling. They need to sell the service to the customer. You need a project manager or program manager. They understand the needs, understand the requirement from the end users, right? You also need the people who are able to compose multiple things together. That's basically like a system integrators. So I can put like a payroll system. I can put a kind of a HR resource system, and eventually I create a full package for an enterprise. And then enterprise will happily pay huge a lot of money to buy a total solution. If there's just engineers, we only know how to create the code, and we only know we create this piece, that piece, not good at communication. This is not become a whole business, right? So, but in the past, imagine I worked for Microsoft before, right? So why Microsoft, this big company, are so successful is because the company, they integrate everything together. So they create a big ecosystem for the business, right? Developers, software developers, just a part of them. So in the past, there's a lot of smaller, like indie developers. They're great at creating applications. Probably their technical skill is very good, but they're not awesome to sell it. They're not awesome to market it. Right?
You were telling me that as well. You said, look, my specialty is building and engineering and all that stuff. And you were saying that you're like, I'm not much of a marketer. And I was like, maybe that's where I'm coming in place, because now that I mean, when I found the company and I found everything out that I could, I was like, I got to tell everybody about this company. I have no idea where it came from, but I was like, people need to see this and see that their dreams could become a reality, and they could build something for cheaper. They could build something that's more accessible, where people, that aren't necessarily like the best at developing could learn how to do it from ArcBlock from an easier standpoint. A lot of developers that I've ran into bring up, because I show them the graph on hey, this is some of the SDK languages that it has, or whatever the case. A lot of people bring up Python. It's because I guess a lot of people know about that. They know a lot about that type of language. Is it common?
Yeah, Python is a great language. So I actually played Python for a few years. Right now, our blocks platform are mostly, so the first class citizen of the language right now is JavaScript. And actually more precisely is TypeScript. It's a kind of an improvement version of JavaScript. You can imagine that. We support JavaScript as the first class citizen is basically because there's a JavaScript language is probably the developers for JavaScript have the most number one community for all the developers, right? But our block platform is not necessarily limited to any language, right? You can build application blocklet with Python, with Go, with Rust, or even with C++, right? So it's a language agnostic, but we support the JavaScript or at this moment the best.
Gotcha. So, and I noticed that, you know, Dot or Cosmos only have one language versus yours. Yours has multiple languages, so I see that as more generalized for the population of developers out there. So that's always nice too. You know, I did realize that there's more languages that could be played with yours, or so it's more adaptable to anybody.
Yeah, that's a goal because we want to empower the developers. We do not want to limit them. So we want to empower them. So basically, we want to give them the choice. If you like this, you know, good, it works. Right? If you like that, it still be able to work. So that's basically because we are we position ourselves as a platform and as a foundation to empower the developers, to give them the strengths to build and focus on the application itself, not spend the time for a lot of low-level stuff.
I know what you're saying, because a lot of times developers have to say which blockchain, which this, which that, and you give that option to say, okay, there's a platform I could just build on. You know, it's not necessarily like I need to be on the blockchain. I still have a platform that I could use. So you're diving into both worlds, the real world and then also in the crypto world, and I think that is actually going to help adoption more than anything, because you need the regular people to come in and learn about crypto and to learn about what it can do. But for you to be able to showcase it, even on your website, you say on your website, when you're on that website, you're actually using ArcBlock's technology. So I like that part about it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Anything right now you see from our website, anything from the website to the components that are supporting like the data wallet, everything, they're actually building on our platform itself.
That is amazing.
So we made this decision 2 years ago. It was painful for us. For example, if you simply build a website in the past, right? So you have a lot of options that is already there. But to be able to run that on our own platform, we have to. It's not mature yet at the time. But that is in the software industry, we call this dog fooding, right? Dog food.
Yeah.
We eat our own dog food before we handle this to others, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know you love dogs, and I also love my dogs.
That's a development phase that you need. You know, it's funny. We have a really good friend. His name's Dustin, and he has these little Frenchies. Did you see him? He has little French dogs. You know, I saw. He was actually the guy you were communicating with on the Twitter, and you know, he came to me and he was like, "Man, Robert Mao's awesome. He talks to us. You know, typically you don't get to talk to the CEOs, and you know, to be honest with you, I feel like that's what the crypto space needs. The crypto space needs to be able to talk to the team and be able to hear where their thoughts are going. You know, I had other questions too. You know, it's like, I know Robert Mao is there, you know, but I've taken a look at some of your previous investors and some of the previous partners, and I think that is amazing that people, you know, of that stature have so much interest in ArcBlock. You know, I saw Ding Li, you know Ding Li as well. He's a major investor into ArcBlock.
Honestly, because Dean is more like a friend and partners for a long time.
Yeah.
Because so ArcBlock is my third startup. So I have built startups a long way ago, and so
I can tell you like your ideas.
Yeah, we collaborated for a long time.
That is amazing. So I have some other questions from my members. If you want to go through them, you know, there's a few of them. I'll go over just a couple of them just for time's sake. But here's a couple questions from our members here at MYC. And if you're not a Discord member, I'll leave a Discord link below if you want to join the community. I have a guy that says, can you tell us more about ABT nodes and how much ABT is required to run a node, and what might be the incentive to run a node? That's one of the questions.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So first of all, I think our communicating on our website is probably not clear enough. So we have rebranded ABT node into the Blocklet server. Gotcha. So if you see anything about a Blocklet server, so that's the same thing as the ABT node. We just rebrand that to make that more accurate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, so to me, that makes more sense, because at least now you have a place to make a program to make you money. You know, that to me has more of a use case than just sitting and waiting. You're producing a product or a service on Blocklet, right? Um,
Right.
so I have one question. He says, are there any upcoming partnerships or any partnership that you've been excited about, or any new partnerships that you might reveal later?
Yeah, so we are actually very eagerly to working with other partners to build applications on top of our block, but we will not make announcement for them. And but I can say one thing: if you want to build something on the blockchain, build a new DApps, you should totally look into the our block platform, and you're going to be our new partners. I
Okay.
wish kind of more audience could be
Which,
our
which to
partners.
me that sounds, you have a tremendous list of different people that you've worked with. There's no doubt about that. But I think people need to see the fact that a DAO is so much more powerful for people on the ground level to build or be builders themselves, not to just watch the crypto space build. I've never been a person that wants to be on the sideline. At first I had no idea about building. All I knew was I'm gonna buy a coin and hopefully something happens. But the more and more I started learning about crypto, I learned about a greater opportunity, because this is gonna be, I mean, DeFi in general. The crypto space in general is the first free market that we've had in decades. We have not had the ability to have a free market to this extent. We haven't had the technology. And mind you, there's so many gatekeepers and monopolies around the world that don't allow the little guy the resources or the technology or the funding to be able to create their own thing from the ground level up. In today's society, you need to have a lot of money in order for a startup. They say that typically you're going to need roughly $150,000 to $350,000 just to have your first year as a startup to figure things out. And I think blockchain has reduced that cost tremendously, where it could be very minimal in cost to start something yourself or a company of your own in this space. So I think that that's bringing a bigger value to people than just saying what partners are here or what company is doing this or that. We need the crypto community to saying, what can I do? What can I do to continue building or build this space? Not only from an investor standpoint, but what about from an entrepreneur standpoint? And that's what I like about ArcBlock, because this app is for entrepreneurs to begin something on their own. So this has a lot to do with ArcBlock, but I think it has a lot more to do with the DAO community that I think that's going to form from this platform. I think that's a greater opportunity. Let's continue on.
Exactly. I think you said this really well.
Yeah. I sometimes I get really passionate about it because I see, I'm building my own app, and hopefully we get to launch by the end of this month or next month. What's funny about apps, the people that I'm working with, and whenever you're gonna launch an app, everything sounds like it's about to launch, and then something happens where there's a tweak, and you're like, okay, maybe it's gonna take a little bit longer. Okay, maybe it might take a little bit longer, and that's just the way apps work, because when you're playing with it, you might see something that needs to be perfected, or you see something that needs to be fixed, or what have you. There's a lot of troubleshooting when it comes to just creating an app. A lot of people think it's just like you press a few buttons and then it's boom, it's ready to go, but it's so much more to that. There's a lot of trial and error.
Exactly. Actually, building application is always hard. So actually, like building like a platform like our blog is extremely hard, and it takes years. And honestly, for anything that is kind of building a completely innovative technology, it probably always take a decade, right? You cannot imagine you can just have a smart idea and you build it like a snap.
Yeah.
No, it's not good. It's not going to look like light. There's a saying said called overnight success. Take a huge long time. It takes a very long time.
Yeah.
For the general public, you say, oh, this come from nowhere. It suddenly become successful, but actually, if you look back, it actually takes a very, very long time.
Well, a lot of failures too. A lot of people don't understand that when you have a startup company, whether it's a regular LLC out there or even in the crypto space, it could be any business venture out there. 99% of startups actually fail. There's only so many that will get to the next level, or even get to the product stage. You know what I'm saying? They can have a concept, but they never get to release a product. They don't get to release a service. And one thing I like about ArcBlock that's shown that there will be or can be success is the fact that you have live products ready to be used right now for developers. That is huge because now people could come,
Yeah,
that's one of your main
yeah.
goals.
Even though there's nobody can guarantee any of the success or anything, right? So, but I'm very optimistic for what our blog has achieved and what we're going. Yeah. So I think from the tech knowledge and the product point of view, I think we definitely already built something really cool. And the more people will realize, how cool and how powerful we have built. And but they're still very risky because this is such a this is an innovative technology.
Robert,
so there's a lot of
I love that you're humble. That's one of the biggest things for me. You're a very humble person, but sometimes I don't think that you see how big you really are because, I'm looking at all the stuff and I'm like, this is explosive. This is massive. But you're so calm and like just, you know what I mean? I get too hyper, I guess. I get like when I start learning about certain things that just like, first off, when I see a project that has a live platform or a live product or something that's already being like something gets made, that's huge in the crypto space because a lot of people, and I'm not going to mention any companies, but there's a lot of companies out there that have all the marketing, all the parading around, but there's no service. There's no product yet. There's no nothing yet. It's just and still an idea, So when I run into a project
that's because one of very, very important value that we want to build our blog is we want to build it to last. Right? Yeah. We want to build a foundation to last. We're not building something for sale or for just a kind of like a pump or just a kind of like a very short period of the creating some buzzword. No, we're built for last. So it takes a long time. It takes time to build a solid foundation. To eventually people will come. People will realize.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna do my side of the story as well on that. I feel part of the community, so I've been telling everybody I can about ArcBlock, and I'm gonna find more people to bring to you for development. I have being in this space, I run into so many people looking to build, and I don't like. Not all the time do I have the perfect place to send them, and I really do like ArcBlock for how easy it is to use and the fact that there's something there to build on. A lot of places just don't have that yet. A lot of ideas, but not enough product in this space is how I see it. I'll finish up with one more question. I have one. This is actually from Dustin, the guy with the Frenchie dogs. He says, what are you excited about in the next year, or what do you hope to accomplish in the next year for ArcBlock? And we'll end it with that question.
Yeah, so for the next year, for the short-term goal, I really...
Just for the next 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah, just for 1 year. I really expecting that we can have a consumer-facing product built on top of our platform that can have a lot of users, right? So those users are not necessarily from the crypto space, but it's a product that have consumers. I can see this is coming. But again, there's no guarantee and we don't know, but I can see from a lot of the aspect and my past experience, I think this is coming.
Absolutely. And I don't know, I'm very confident in ArcBlock. I have a feeling that not only people on the ground level are going to be utilizing ArcBlock, but I have a really big feeling that there are going to be companies of large scale using this product to issue their apps. So I see that a lot too. No guarantees, no promises.
I cannot promise, but I'm very confident.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to our community members and I'm like, Robert, he's such a nice guy. He's clearly very humble, but we're going to have to just tell him that we really believe in him and we know that this is going to be taking off, so we're confident too. But
again, I think for the community, sometimes when I see people are too much passionate about it, and sometimes I get worried, right? Because from sometimes the technology itself, especially for the bleeding edge technology itself, it sounds like magic in the beginning. So that basically you cannot tell it is just a hype or is something for real, right?
Yeah.
So the hype not necessary to be something fake, but there's a lot of technology. If you look at all those kind of new technology, I would say 90% of this technology is going to disappear. So a lot of people already predicted like Bitcoin going to disappear, blockchain going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
For every year, that people did predict that, right?
Yeah.
So a couple of days ago, I retweeted one of the tweet from the newspaper say, internet is a hype. It's going to die away. That's from a news media.
They said the same thing about the internet. So
you don't get too much excited about it. I think stay calm and build, right? When you build it, you will realize what is hype and what is real. I think that's the only way to tell.
Exactly, and for me, one of the main indicators that something is becoming real is the fact that you got a product and you have a platform there for people to try out. So I invite all developers out there to give ArcBlock a try. It has a ton of SDK languages that you could utilize. And the best word that I want to take out of this interview is agnostic. ArcBlock is agnostic to so many features. So that's one thing I've taken away from this interview. And I thank you for spending the time with us. And I hope to have you back. When do you think your podcast is gonna come out, by the way?
I'm expecting to come out in October.
Okay.
So obviously, I'm planning this for a long time. You can see I have my professional studio set up. But sometimes when I'm doing this kind of podcast, I'm kind of perfectionist. You see, we have tried a few of those kind of live broadcasts and created a few videos. But I think the result is not great, right?
No, it looks good.
This time,
I like your setup because it looks human. You see, mine doesn't look human. I don't know what's going on with me. I have no idea where this chair came from.
You're more like from the crypto space. I'm more like an engineer, right? I'm a printer and
well, all this.
And my dog's here.
Shout out to Dead Punk. He made me this, and all the stuff that I have, somebody gave to me or they made it for me. So. For some reason, I don't know why, but my fans, when they think of me, they think of Duke Nukem. I don't know why, they think of the Doom guy too. I guess I'm a tough guy sometimes, But Robert, thank you again. I'll get these videos put up, and I'm really happy for them. And just thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.